Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pivotal Change. I'm your host, Ryan Kahn from CS Business Consulting and Shetland Associates CPA. But most importantly, I am here to guide you through a journey of leadership, entrepreneurial development, and anything that you can do to gain influence and find that one or two moments of pivotal change that leads you to your success story. I have some special guests with us tonight. We're going to have some great conversations. I would like to have everyone meet my two friends, Emily and Sarah from the Arnold Realty Group. Ladies, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. And well, it's my pleasure. And what I like to do always is I like to kind of just jump right into things because I know we are pushed up against breaks and you ladies live very busy lives doing a lot of really good things in the realty world. So I'm just going to kick it off with our first question about strategies. We're going to be talking mostly about teamwork. So I want to know strategies about you using them to foster teamwork and collaboration in what is a very highly competitive real estate market.
So, first of all, I don't think we really like to see it as a competition. I mean, especially among ourselves, but even with other realtors in the community, we really harbor an environment of collaboration. And I think that's one thing that really sets us apart as a group is that we focus on collaboration. When you hire one of us, you don't just get Emily Wilson or Sarah Ferris, you get all of us. You get all 13, 14 of our agents collaborating together and helping our clients.
And same even with agents from other firms and companies. If we've got a deal going, we all are trying to get the same thing accomplished. And so working together with those realtors and really coming together, it establishes a great relationship. Moving forward, you know you're looking forward to working with that realtor because you've had the chance to do it in the past. And just kind of really making those connections and relationships and moving forward together kind of creates that competitiveness to go away. And honestly, I think overall makes it more successful than not.
Okay, I like that. I get that a lot. So I'm looking at a lot of people, we've been in business and in coaching and all these various relationships we come across in life, and everybody wants to find the win-win. So you're kind of approaching that from the win-win mindset, except when you guys win, it's not just the realtor wins and the other realtor wins, but the client wins, and maybe people have helped along the way. The appraiser wins, the banker wins. Everybody wins from having that smooth experience, the getting the value out of having a home or a building that they've always dreamed of, and the process again was enjoyable and held by professionals. Is that kind of what you're telling me?
Yes, and that smooth experience, how we win from that is that clients want to work with us again in the future. And so they realize that we maybe put our pride down a little bit to help them get the house of their dreams. Ultimately, they're looking to say, hey, those people, that realtor worked for me and what I needed. I'm going to call them again when we're ready to sell. And that's where the win comes for us. But it was a win for everybody, in the first round or the original process of buying or selling the house. Would you agree?
Exactly. And I think I see that from other realtors outside of our brokerage from that standpoint as well. If you have a bad experience with an agent, you're going to continue to have bad experiences, and you have to negotiate with these agents. You have to have a good relationship. And if someone's like, oh, Emily, she was mean and nasty, their clients, if I present an offer on one of their properties, they're like, oh, she's difficult to work with. We're not going to do that. So we try our best to have a good relationship with everybody in our community and treat people fairly. And whether, some people might see it.
Right.
I like that. So let me ask a little bit more about balance. So promoting individual success, that's really important. Everyone is ultimately their own person, but you're the member of that team. So how do you balance the individual success to the overall success of the team? Maybe one year somebody's just absolutely killing it in the industry, and another year somebody's on the struggle bus. How do you balance how much to help and I don't want to say cross-contaminate, but go into those support systems, and the big winner for the year is helping other people be lifted up, and the person that's struggling get some type of encouragement or support. How do you balance all that and not take away from the individual as well?
I think, every day in real estate, and I think any realtor could agree with this, is you learn something new, I think, with every deal that you do. And so, we've got a girl that was a top earner last year, and I really looked up to her last year, and I thought, okay, she's done this before. I'm going to ask her about this specific scenario, and she's able to walk me through it, and vice versa. Maybe I've had an experience that she hadn't had, and we can work together on that. But I think that we're kind of each other's cheerleaders. We really are supportive of one another because, we know that the years come and go. It's a roller coaster. Some years are great. Some years might be a little bit less than, but I think learning from Emily and from the other girls in my office and being able to work together overall, improves the office as a whole, but as an individual, the growth for the individual as well.
Yeah, and I mean, Sarah's exactly right. We are each other's biggest cheerleaders, whether it's on a professional level or even a personal level. I think that's what makes our group so great. We celebrate little wins, big wins, professional or personal, and it helps us get better. I mean, if you take a look even at our social media, you'll see, oh, Sarah, she won this award in the community. Everybody say, yay, go Sarah. And we're always celebrating each other, and exactly like you said, celebrating us individually and as a group.
And it's exciting. I like to see the girls in my office win. It looks good for them. It looks good for the office. Therefore, it looks good for us as a group. And, I know they're going to celebrate when I win or when my successes come as well. And I think overall that keeps us less competitive. Of course, with a group of, I think we're up to 13 or 14 girls, sometimes you're like, man, I wish I had as good of a year as so-and-so had, or dang, I'm not up there, with my numbers. But at any point in time, if I needed help or advice, I could ask any one of them and they would kind of, I think, jump in and help if it was needed.
Yeah, that's another thing we really like to do is if there is someone that is wanting more work and needs more work, we're really good about bringing each other on, whether it's listings or working with a buyer. We thoroughly enjoy working with each other.
We do.
Help, yeah.
Or if you're like me and you just have a baby and you want to try to hand off some of the sales that you get, I call Emily, hey, I've got this property, do you want to take it or split it with me? And so it's just nice to be a team who celebrates each other's wins.
I think you're drawing out something that's really important. And on my Ryan Forges Leaders Instagram and TikTok page, I literally just released a podcast about celebrating the big and the small. So I think you're segueing into a good piece of the next question here, but I've noticed that you do that on your social media, on your marketing, internally, just when we have conversations. I think we've sold probably 3-4 properties through you now, and we've got another one coming. And that's one thing that I've really recognized in your success story is how much you praise each other and how much you celebrate, like you said, the big and the small. So I really want to highlight that for the audience. And then in doing that, you do a great job. And one of the main reasons I wanted to have members of your team, and more of your team will be coming in the future, is how do you ensure, give tips and tricks or just some type of strategy for the audience. How do you ensure that your team consistently presents the best version of themselves and the best version of the properties when you're out there representing and selling and doing the good work that you do?
Well, I think there are two main things to that. One, we have an amazing rock star full-time marketing girl. She's always on top of everything. She's got a set list of everything she does for each property, whether it be professional photos, a video, going the extra mile to do other things. And the second component to that is when we bring somebody onto the team, we're not just hiring top producers, someone that's going to make us a lot of money. We're not doing that. We're looking at your community involvement. If you're going to be a cheerleader alongside with us and work well with the group, we don't want someone to come in here and see us all as competition. We have such a great group. I mean, where else do you find 14 girls that are like the best of friends,
Really?
both professionally and personally? And we want someone that's going to fit that mold and have a good reputation in the community. And I think that along with the social media really helps us maintain our brand and consistency.
I'll give a lot of credit to Dawn. When I first joined, Dawn Arnold, our broker, when I first joined, we were hiring a couple extra people and I'm like, well, I don't know, you start adding people to the group and I learned to trust her. She knows what she's doing and she's only bringing on people that fit what we are looking for and that celebrate the bigs and the smalls and that want to be a part of a community and want to be a part of our community, our little Arnold Realty community. And so learning to trust the broker and the person in charge goes a long way too, because they know it's their, it's got her name on it. I mean, she wants it to be a certain way. And I think she does a really good job about who she brings on to fit that mold.
I like that a lot. So I'm going to try to summarize this maybe in a little bit of the language that I've used in the past for the audience, but you definitely are maintaining your culture. You're looking to hire for a specific culture, not just some person that can come in and bang out a bunch of sales, because there's probably people all over the country that can do that. You want a specific culture. The community involvement was a huge part of what you're saying. So you're hiring more of the personality in the person than you are the skill set, maybe? And I think the skill set comes along with it. Now, I'm
Yeah,
not saying that you don't have a skill set, but maybe a skill set could be developed. It's already there, but it can be
yeah.
developed with the quality of
I
team
would
that you
definitely say both. And people see us and, they want to hire, I mean, who's your ideal realtor? And you have to look at that. Do you want somebody who's, involved in the community, knows the area? When you're involved in the community, your area, who you're working with, the sellers, other potential buyers, it's a small location. And so kind of being involved allows that to open you up to maybe be a better realtor because you're familiar with in your market. And so, and the skill set comes along with it. And obviously, like I said earlier, there's always something to learn and, constantly putting yourself in a situation where you can continue to learn and grow. I just think there's never enough of that. So skill set can come. And I think that's something we look for, but,
like it.
I think
Yeah, and I didn't
it's-
mean that you ladies weren't skillful. You're the top producers in the entire region, which is why you're on the show. So the skill is through the roof. But I did want to point out that your culture is different than all the other firms around, which is why I chose you. And I really want to highlight that for the audience, that your culture really makes you truly special. Last question, kind of a little bit more of a quicker answer before we jump over to the break and bring you ladies right back. But in all that, we've been talking team, we've been talking the culture, we've been talking this. Now let's talk about the client specifically. The clients giving you feedback, the client giving you some type of refining information on your team approach. Tell me about that. How does that help you with selling and marketing properties, client feedback?
It's kind of like Emily said, we were talking earlier, and she said it's so smart to know, knowing your buyer goes such a long way, knowing their wants and needs, and then listening to their feedback. We get a lot of feedback. What you do with that makes such a difference, and how you grow from the feedback from the buyers. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We also get a lot of feedback on our social media. We do a lot
Yes.
of community outreach with our videos, and we get so much feedback and people wanting us to come do a video for me.
Yeah.
And it's really great to get that community feedback and
Mhm.
kind of give the people what they want.
Gotcha.
And
I like that a
listening to
lot.
they're the clients and potentially future sellers, and just kind of being able to work with their needs and wants.
Good. That's a great place for me to jump in and get ready to go to commercial break, because we're actually going to be talking more about that reciprocal relationship and the social media and the marketing and how that grows on our segment coming right after this break. So to the audience out there, stay tuned. We're going to have these two wonderful ladies back after this break in just a few minutes. Welcome back from the break and back to Pivotal Change. We had a great conversation with Emily and Sarah from Arnold Realty Group, and we talked about a lot of team dynamics and ways to establish yourself as a better teammate and be a perpetual student. And we ended up leaving off talking about the impact of client feedback, social media, and marketing. So I'm going to jump in and ask you a question right here, ladies. What marketing strategies have you used that you find to be the most effective in differentiating your realty firm from other competition, other real estate agents?
I think that we could do a whole other video on this. I think that's kind of our bread and butter is our marketing. I mean, not only do we stay on top of trends, but we create trends and we see other people wanting to kind of follow along and our lead. And I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is our community involvement. Not only are we putting out our videos of listings, just kind of giving tours of properties, but we're getting out there with our community, featuring small business owners. We're featuring inspectors, appraisers, people in different professions, and we're doing educational videos and kind of just hitting all different topics. But like I said, the main thing that sets us apart, I think, is our outreach to the community and other business owners.
And one of the things that a lot of people have called us about is, you had maybe brought it up in the past when we spoke, was our Tiny Mike Tuesdays. And we kind of brought that on as something, different and unique to do. And that allows us to go out into the community and interview those community members and do those types of videos. And it's especially fun when you pull that Tiny Mic out and it kind of makes people think, what are we doing? But it catches people's attention and it catches viewers' attention and potential buyers and sellers. And just to kind of show you who we are as people, not just realtors, I think you get to know us better through our marketing and know who your realtor is as a person and as a realtor, rather than just calling up, a realtor and not knowing what you're getting.
I like that a lot. And I'll comment for the audience since you're not bragging on yourselves enough, which I appreciate your humility, but they have really in this region launched a trend where people actually show up on social media, Instagram, whatever it is, to see the next segment, to see the next interview, to see the humor that these ladies inject into the community, all surrounding, of course, building community involvement and value and all ultimately has the base of the realty aspect to it. But there are common trends. They've got their own little keywords around town that people will hear that it'll trigger and they'll know exactly that they're talking about the ladies from Arnold Realty Group. And so I think that's something that's really important to draw of what you just said is you've got your own brand and it's slowly growing across the region. It's definitely got a pin stuck in the map here in Paducah, Kentucky. So good job pointing that out. But I really want to pat you on the back for that one. That's something that you do very well. So in doing that, you have drawn out your own value as a realty group. The customer is getting a different experience with you. So identify for us kind of that unique value proposition that you do. Like, how do you effectively communicate to a person that there's value in working with you and, of course, value in the property that you're targeting for them?
I think, depending on if you're working with buyer or seller, it kind of varies. If I'm working with a buyer, we're somewhat selling ourselves.
Exactly.
We have to let them know that they can trust us. They have to know that we know what we're doing. We're familiar with the business. We're familiar with the market. And they also want to know that they're working with a human being who's, making, I don't know, just being normal, being a normal human being, just like they are, and that they can create a relationship. Every single time I have a client, 9 times out of 10, I would say we leave becoming friends, or we're still texting to this day, and then sometimes I'm sad because I'll talk to a client for months and months, going over stuff. And then they go away because they buy their house and we haven't talked in a while. But those relationships matter. They matter for future business. They matter for referrals. And I think just, the marketing is fun. Sometimes they like to be a part of it. Sometimes they want to jump on with us. And I think they can just see, hey, we're human. We like to put ourselves out there and have fun, but we also do a great job. And that we care about becoming in line with the trends, I think shows that we are trying to push their properties and trying to push, their sales. And I don't know, I think there's just a lot to be said for that.
I like that. So I think the human component of what you just said is really important, that you have to establish trust first by selling yourself. And I think that you're really hitting a really loud drum that people should be paying attention to. And you ladies don't know this, but I often encourage my audience to take notes on the show and write down what they've learned. So I'm hoping everybody out there is listening to sell yourself first. The value is in you, and then the product or service second. Because if they don't trust you, you can never bridge the gap into selling your product or service. So way to hit the nail on the head on that one. So I like that a lot. Let's talk about a success story real quick. So you just told us how you sell yourself and the trust and the value and that long-term relationship. So can you give us maybe an example of maybe you had a really challenging property or scenario and you turned that into a successful high-value sale?
Yes. So recently we got a call to list a new development in town, a new residential development. And we were trying to brainstorm what kind of extra value can we present to these sellers to where they want to work with us. And so Dawn actually came up with the idea of having each agent be on one lot within that subdivision. So each agent alongside Dawn got to market this property individually, because like I said, you don't just get one agent when you work with Arnold Realty Group, you get 13 or 14.
Mhm.
So not only do you have Dawn Arnold on the face of this listing, you've got Emily Wilson, Sarah Ferris, Kelly Foster, Ella Burgess, Jamie, and we are each marketing this property
separately and as a whole. So
Exactly.
we're marketing the neighborhood, but we're also marketing our property. And so she went from having just her marketing to where we might share it, here and there, to now all of us sharing and pushing the entire, project as a whole. And I think that was a huge deal for her.
And that's another reason why our broker, Dawn, is so great. She really lifts us up and tries to make us involved, and it's not just individual agents, it's Arnold Realty Group.
I think she knows that the value in lifting us up and pulling us in projects only helps her too as a broker. And so I think she's very smart and strategic with what she does, but I think she also knows that it's helpful for us. We grow from it, we get sales from it, ultimately growing her business. So it's a smart move.
And of course, helpful to the clients.
And of course, helpful to the clients.
Yeah, Dawn's kind of smart. She's kind of smart. So we'll give her
Just a
some
little
credit.
bit.
She's not here to defend herself and tell us otherwise. So I do appreciate that. So I like the rallying nature of what you said. In order to get that challenging property layout, you had to rally everyone together. The team clearly came together on a common village of let's sell these lots, let's just get this going. Instead of one person having to grind that out over time, all resources were concentrated on making this a success. So I think we can caveat that into that business world as well, is when you have a challenge, gather the troops, gather the resources, get a common vision, and do it together. Don't just let one or two person or a small team try to tackle the monster. Everyone do it together. Yeah, I like that a
I think
lot.
it would be nice if one person could tackle it and you could be that person and yay, great. But that's a lot of work for one person. And I think that ultimately is a disadvantage for your client in the long run. And then I think you would lose that client overall because they would see you're just looking at this as a way to selfishly do this all on your own when you could have brought in a team and made this better for me as your client. So
I think that us as Arnold Realty Group, or me as an agent personally, I don't ever not know something, because if I don't have the experience, somebody else did within our group, and we can always lean on them. So I feel like we
100%.
always have the answer because one of us does.
Yes.
We've gone
Yep.
through so many different experiences, and
Yeah.
we're able to help each other and grow
Great.
in that aspect.
The solution is found in the collective experience. I like that a lot, Emily. That's really good. All right. So last question before we end this segment here, drawn out just a little bit, but I do want you to tell me what are some of the most critical factors in creating a compelling listing that's going to attract some serious buyers. So what are those critical factors? And I'm going to try to see how it plays to business in general.
I think it depends on the property. I think you have to look at the property as a whole and say, okay, we know what kind of buyers are in our town, what are buyers looking for? And when you know your buyers, you look at the property and say, okay, this is what buyers are looking for. This is what we need to push to sell. And I think that are you looking at residential? Are you looking at commercial? Obviously that could be expanded, into so many different aspects, but knowing your community, knowing your town, knowing your buyers, I think will help you decide what features of that listing are most important.
Exactly. And like I said, we have our full-time marketing girl we get the professional photos done, we get the videos done, but just a specific example, if you've got a property in need of renovation, we'll do a video where we show the now, and then we put inspiration in there to show what could be. And now you're marketing towards investors, flippers, or people who want to just go in and fix something, and you're providing them with a vision.
It's a loaded question in that it really is, it depends on the property. But there's a lot of ways that you could market it. I think it just comes down to knowing your market and knowing who your buyers are and knowing the potential that the property has.
I like that a lot. I think you're just absolutely killing it with the knowledge. You spend the time to know the target audience, to know the climate and the community and the culture in which you're dealing. So you can immediately provide based on the demands of your region. You have knowledge. And then you put in the extra work of a lot of people, realtors have a knack of walking into a house and seeing the bones of the house and the potential problems and pain points and the potential, oh my goodness, you could turn this into a garden or a playroom for your child, and painting that vision. And then you're actually taking the work to do that through high quality photos and the timeline, the potential futures, and you're painting it for them because people may not have that talent. They may not be able to paint that picture of the future, and you, through your knowledge, paint it for them. I think that's really excellent. Well, let me do this. Let's go ahead and jump to another commercial break. We're going to drop off Sarah at this point and transition the conversation just a little bit with just Emily. But ladies, thank you so much for having us. And before we leave, tell the audience, if they like what you have to say, if they like your knowledge, if they want to build a team in the way that you built a team, or even use you for properties, how do they get a hold of you?
So you can go to our website at thearnoldrealtygroup.com and go to agents, and you can see all of our contact info.
And if you hit Arnold Realty Group on any social media platforms, you'll see all of us tagged in a lot of the videos, especially, I think we're all tagged in almost all of the posts now. So you can click on there and kind of go through and look through all of our social media pages as well.
Absolutely fantastic. Sarah, thank you for coming on the show, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon. And Emily, we'll be right back with you. Everyone else, stay tuned to Pivotal Change for our third segment of the night. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back from another break on Pivotal Change. I am back with Emily Wilson of the Arnold Realty Group, and we just had Sarah Ferris, her teammate, on as well. And we talked about things like teamwork and building a team and putting your best foot forward and selling value to the clients and painting a vision for them. All of the details that went into that. So we're going to pivot just a little bit, as is in the name of the show, and we're going to be talking with Emily about what goes on behind the scenes. So most people probably have been somewhere involved in the purchase or sale of a property and buying a house. And we probably think about contacting a real estate agent, making some appointments for some houses and listings that we like, being provided some information. There's going to be a back and forth of communication. We're going to visit some houses. We're going to spend a little bit of time there. We'll get comps and inspections and ultimately close on the house that is our favorite one and closely matches our dream. But there's a lot more to that experience on a highly functional and successful team like Arnold Realty Group. So, Emily, I'm going to open it up to you. Tell us what actually goes on behind the scenes in a highly effective group like yours.
So, okay, there are kind of two ways we could go about this. So I have a little bit of a unique perspective because I have been with Dawn, our owner, founder, since the inception of Arnold Realty Group. I started as her assistant and marketing director, and now I manage our office along with being a realtor myself. So there are certain things that goes on behind the scenes as a realtor, and also a lot of things that go behind the scenes when it comes to helping run a successful real estate company. So kind of depends on which way you want to go with that. As far as a realtor, when you're working with a buyer, you're working with so many people. You're not just working with your buyer, you're working with lenders, appraisers, inspectors, attorneys. If you need to get someone special to look at something, you're talking to roof professionals, plumbers, electricians. You've got to have all of these contacts in your pocketbook, and you've got a pocketbook's the wrong word, but in your contact list, and you have to know how to negotiate because you go through the inspection, you might find something on the title search, and you really have to know your stuff in all of these different things.
Okay, that's a very interesting answer. So I like the fact that you've gained so much industry knowledge and you've put this together over time. So in doing that, you're becoming more and more of an industry expert and you're learning all of the different components that go into a realty firm. So tell me, what was kind of your primary source of learning over time and how did you make yourself more broad and more effective in your learning?
Yeah, so I got my start in a really unique way. I started here working alongside Dawn, the owner and broker. She brought me on as her assistant and marketing director, and I gained so much knowledge in the industry just by sitting at a desk next to her, listening to her negotiate phone calls, listening to her do LOIs and negotiate big build outs and things for commercial clients. And it made it really easy on me to pass my real estate exam. But that was my main source of learning, is I think being alongside a very knowledgeable group of agents. And there are some mistakes I had to learn from, but I also got to learn from all of their mistakes. Not that they make a lot, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
It's been great to learn alongside a very knowledgeable, experienced group of agents.
Gotcha. So mentorship is one of the 5M categories that I emphasize with a lot of business leaders and team building. And it sounds like mentorship was a huge success for you, pairing yourself up next to Don Arnold and being able to learn. And you even made a little comment about I was able to just sit there and listen and watch and observe. And we label that here at CS Business Consulting as the fly on the wall method. And so if you were going to maybe give some advice about finding a mentor, the right type or kind of a mentor, or how to interact with a mentor, what advice would you give to anybody in finding a mentor or seeking out a mentor?
Well, find the smartest person in the room. And it obviously has to be someone that you vibe personally with and someone that's willing to go the extra mile to help you grow. And like I said, I was in a unique position because I was helping her on the backside of building her company. She's done a wonderful job growing this from, 3 agents to 13, and we're now one of the leading brokerages in the region. And just the fact that she had taken the time to kind of teach me the ropes. You need to find somebody that's willing to do that. And like I said, one of the smartest people in the room, that's who you kind of have to gravitate towards.
I love that. I often I work with a lot of young people, and I tell them, or really anybody, if you find yourself as being the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room. You don't want to be in that room very long unless you're like giving a demonstration, because you always need to be learning. And then your mentor is trying to target the smartest person in the room. You gave a caveat that they also have to be willing, and they're going to put in the extra mile. And that's what you were grateful for Dawn for. So I think drawing those things out, you're really hopefully impacting people and how they make decisions in growing in their knowledge, in growing in their industry on their own. So let's talk about after they get growing and they start performing. How does somebody ensure consistent performance and maybe make sure that they're following up and gaining that client satisfaction once they've got their mentor and they've gotten into the role of actually getting out there, getting after it?
That was kind of a long question. Can you summarize that a
Sure,
little
sure.
bit?
So tell me about getting the consistent performance. So after you've got a mentorship and you're in the arena, and now you went from learning and being the mentee to now you passed your exam and you're out there doing real estate. How did you ensure that you got your consistent performance, or did Dawn ensure that from you, consistent performance?
Well, I think it kind of brings us back to that team mentality. We're always checking each other. We're always making sure we're on the right track, doing the right thing, always checking in with your teammates. I think it brings us back to how it's not just Emily Wilson, real estate agent, it's Arnold Realty Group as a brokerage. And we want to make sure all of our agents are upholding our reputation in the industry. And we make sure we call each other out if something's not up to par. And I think
Okay.
just like talking about before, surrounding yourself with people who want to be the best.
I like that a lot. So now you're talking about more than just a mentor relationship, but surrounding yourself with teammates and other people that are going to lift you up, but also hold you accountable and call you out. And I really like that, because I think a lot of people just try to plug themselves in somewhere and make it work instead of looking at some of maybe these softer things that are really going to be what produce the positive symptoms instead of the negative toxic symptoms. Emily, let me ask you this, because you said something that I think is really good. You said you girls kind of call each other out and keep each other in check. So what would be a way that some of the ladies at Arnold Realty Group would say, hey, I'm going to check on you. I'm going to make sure things are going right. How am I going to keep somebody in check as a positive teammate?
Well, I think first you have to establish a relationship with each other. We all have a very good professional and personal friendship with each other. And, you're not going to take advice from someone who's going to talk down on you. You want to take advice from someone who you strive to be like. And we're constantly in contact. You should see our group messages every day. There's hundreds of them coming through. We're always texting each other or calling if we need some advice or have a situation that we've not gone through before. Everybody is more than willing to jump in and help. And I mean, that's a good way to keep ourselves in check, is just we're always checking in with each other. We always know what the other people are doing.
I like that a lot. So let me end this segment with this question here. And I just want to know, from the mind of Emily and the heart of Emily, if you're going to give a piece of advice to somebody that's growing into an industry, they've attached themselves to a mentor, and they desperately strive for success, where would you tell them to improve themselves? Where would you tell them to seek the biggest gain on themselves? How would Emily coach that person?
I think, again, it boils down to the people you surround yourself with. You become like who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with the best and the people who you want to be like and the people who have good relationships in the community, you're in turn going to become that. And that's what I love about our group.
I love that. So people need to be paying very close attention to who they allow in their professional lives and their personal lives. And they need to be surrounding themselves with people that are going to hold them accountable, people that they look up to in some capacity and can try to achieve victory with those people, not adversaries, not rivals, not unhealthy forms of competition, but the brotherly or sisterly good competition that spurs each other on. So that's really excellent stuff, and I hope everybody paid close attention to that. Emily, I want you to one more time for us. Where can our audience find you and Arnold Realty Group if they want to pick your brain, get some advice, or of course, get into the real estate game to buy and sell and use you and your services?
Yeah, you can head to our website anytime at thearnoldrealtygroup.com. You can go to any of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, should all be at the Arnold Realty Group.
That is fantastic. There's no doubt in my mind why having you as a teammate, Arnold Realty Group has its major success. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and everybody else, you sit right where you are and you stay tuned for our final segment of the night. We'll be right back with more Pivotal Change. Welcome back from the break on Pivotal Change, and you have been witnessing a wonderful conversation from the ladies of Arnold Realty Group, and we talked a lot about teamwork and culture and the ability to build value and give imparted perceived value, and as well as operations, what goes on behind the team, and how to invest in mentorship. So a huge theme was team and culture and picking the right people to surround yourself with. So I want to touch on core values. Core values is part of CS Business Consulting's Business Foundation program. So we're going to pull up some slides and we're going to walk through what is actually part 4 of the series. What I want you to envision as we do this is imagine that you're on a boat and you are going on a journey along the leadership path. And what we're going to do is we're going to go on this voyage like Christopher Columbus took off so many years ago on a huge voyage. And we're going to talk about core values and why core values are so important. So when we look down at this, core values are like building blocks. And actually, the person that has these building blocks in their life is relying on about 10 blocks. So we're going to jump to a slide here to demonstrate how these work. These building blocks stack up on each other, and you use these 10 values to make all of your daily decisions. Your core values go and they help you decide when to emphasize something, what to eat, what to wear, how to establish relationships, all the way down to who you will marry, who you will join into business relationships, who you will partner up in faith-based activities, and how you will parent and raise your children. So it's very important that you understand that of those 10 values, some of them are just complementary values. They help you make important decisions. Others are strong values and they show up more often. But at the very bottom, supporting all others, are the 3 core values. These 3 core values are the ones that you live, fight, and die for. And they do not change barring some traumatic life event or some major change. We're talking about, a near-death experience or the birth of a child, maybe getting married or finding a faith in religion. Those things can affect your core values. But generally speaking, they are with you for the rest of your life. So we're going to skip down through this presentation on a few slides, and we're going to understand why it's so important to target the use of these values. So as we're getting ready to learn about how to target these and use these as actual values, we need to understand that the reason relationships break up, business partnerships crumble, marriages fall by the wayside, children learn to never speak to each other, or people quit and join different community organizations or workplaces is because there's a conflict in core values. If you have a conflict in core values, you eventually have a sense of friction that rises to the surface and must be dealt with. The science is very clear that in the friction of these core values, if you do not have 2 of your 3 core values in alignment with the people that are in your closest relationships, then eventually those relationships will erode and break. And there we get divorces and businesses splitting and lawsuits and the changes of dynamic family structures, the falling apart of churches and things like that, is because the core values are not anchored to each other. Now, it is possible, based on personality types, that you only have 1 core value in common And when I'm talking about core values, it's a very deep subject. There are categories of core values, like integrity and loyalty and honesty would be kind of in one category. So those can be in alignment. But somebody that is adventure seeking versus, more interpersonal values, they want to climb a mountain versus be in a isolated, more intimate environment with the closest people to them. And those values will probably not line up and ultimately and possibly result in a rift. So one of the things that we want to do is understand how to use our core values to make them go along with us in our journey so that we can use them as a workable tool. So what we want to do is we want to understand how to determine our core values. We determine our core values by getting out a pen and paper and examining ourselves through self-reflection. What we want to do is we want to find some type of avenue, and CS Business Consulting has an actual test where you go through and you select your core values. So we're going to jump to the next slide and see how this looks a little bit. First, you got to go through that selection process. Then you have to filter those down and filter those down. It should be pretty easy to come up with about 10 values that are really important to you. But the winnowing process to where you cut them down to your final 3 is very difficult. And then you have to put those core values to the test through as unbiased examination as you can. So there's a series of questions that ask you about your life experiences, the choices you've made, the places you've been, the hardships you've received, and the joyous celebratory moments that you've had. And it ultimately confirms that these are, in fact, your core values. The cool part about the test is that it also has a lie detector, we call it, to see if you're trying to fool yourself. And maybe this is, your family thinks this core value is really important. So you're just putting it down on paper, but to you personally, it may not be one of your 3 core values. And people really enjoy that test because it tells them, ooh, I'm trying to fool myself. I need to go pick another one from that list that was important to me and measure it against this confirmation test. And then lastly, you clean up your core values by articulating them. You get out the dictionary, you get out the thesaurus, you get out some friends and advisors and relationships, and you have them do a confirmation and cleanup step saying, this is you. You think and act and walk and talk this way. Yes, this is your set of core values as the dearest people to you know you and love you. So what I want to do is I want to jump to an image. I want to jump to the image of a boat once again. And I want everyone to look at the image of a boat as it is broken up into a diagram. And your core values are just as important to you as these 3 pieces of a boat are important to a successful journey. The keel or the hull. So if you look at the hull of a ship, and if that core value is violated, it is fractured, it is broken, it loses its integrity in any way, that ship starts to take on water and ultimately will sink. So if you contradict your own values and you live a life of cognitive dissonance where you are living apart from what you truly believe, you're taking on water against your values. The main mast, which runs right through the ship and is literally anchored to the belly of the ship, that bears the load and it catches the wind, and that is the piece that drives the ship forward using the wind power. If that mast breaks, and you think about maybe some pirate or Viking movies where the ship mast breaks and they're literally dead in the water, if you violate your core values, you can find yourself being dead in the water. And the last image I want you to grab hold of is the rudder. Even though it's a small part of the ship, it does steer the entire voyage. That rudder guides the entire ship and gives you the exact, very minutiae movements that it can make to pull up to a dock and everybody get off safely. If you don't have your core values established or you don't know what they are, you're like a ship without a rudder, or at least a broken rudder. So keep in mind how important these are. Emily, in our last segment, emphasized so much how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. And understanding your core values and that of the core values of your company allows you to measure that against the people that you bring into and allow into your life. If you don't have a test to get your core values written out on paper, articulated very well for you and others to know, then you might be selling yourself short as a leader. You want to go ahead and blend these into your overall leadership philosophy so that you can influence not only yourself, but the people in your families, your organization. And you need to be able to do that if you find that your company or you have drastically different core values, it would be better now to decide to make an amicable split than it would be to do it because of fractures and friction. So it's very important that you understand that. And after picking your own core values for yourself, you line them up with your partners and you get new core values that match and jive with everyone for the company. So we're going to jump down a little bit in my presentation and we're going to look at the Shetland Associates core values. That is the accounting firm that I own. And I want to pull this demonstration up on screen where it says our 3 core values. So the Shelton and Associates core values that we did this process with several years ago and we signed our names to it were integrity. So we will be ethical and honest in all that we do and maintain our resolve in the face of adversity. That was a big component for us to put that. We want to be faithful and stand firm in our morals so that other people, we can provide them assurance and they can place their trust in our relationships, in our expertise, because we are faithful to those things. And excellence. We never choose perfection because only one guy was perfect and I'm not him, but excellent everyone can be. And we will strive to achieve the highest standards in all that we do, supply our best efforts, and provide unparalleled value to our clients, our staff, and our contents. And that was formed many years ago, and we stick to those every day. So when people walk into our office and they join us on our journey, they can see if they line up with our values or not. Our leadership philosophies, our missions, our vision can all be put into that. So think again about a picture of a boat and how your overall leadership would be influenced by your core values. Your core values have a direct link to that mission statement and articulating why you're showing up every day. And you're going to support that mission with your core values. You're going to support that vision of yourself in the future through your core values. And your leadership philosophy will be built around and have a major component anchoring the core values. All of these are going to influence the type of policies that you write, the type of procedures that you put in place, your future directives that you're going to give out, the people that you hire, and the overall navigation of your journey. So as I conclude tonight's episode of Pivotal Change, you have heard from the ladies how they build their teams. They look for the personalities, the cultures. Tell me now, in reflection on the last 45 minutes to an hour, do you believe that Arnold Realty Group has matching core values or friction in their core values? I'm telling you and answering to you today, they absolutely have their core values in alignment, both as individuals and an organization, and they are the highest achieving realty firm for the last 2 years in this region. And they don't brag on themselves enough. But if you also go through the process of establishing your core values, you can achieve success by aligning those things and literally take yourself up and to the right like you never thought possible. And it's not a skill, it's not a product, it's not something that we typically think of in the business world, but in the leadership world, it is pivotal. So with that, I want to end tonight's show by encouraging you to go out there and see the change and be the change, and stick with us next time on the show Pivotal Change. Have a good night.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.